says we're live.
Yeah, there we go. I think we're live.
All right, cool.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
As
morning.
you're coming in, thank you for your patience as we're a couple minutes into 10 a.m. Pacific time. As you're coming in, feel free to say hello and let us know where you are watching us from. Today is day 6 of our ceremony, and we are transitioning to the moon altar. I wanted Marshall, good morning.
Good morning, Aloha.
Aloha. How are things going?
Good, good. It's a little slow moving this morning. The sun's blocked out, so I might seem a little dark over here in the transition here. But yeah, things are going good.
So today's a transition day. Any thoughts on that?
Well, that was the biggest thing that came in this morning was the Holy One. We're speaking of trans. How did they call it? It was transformation, but it was more of understanding change, any kind of change, you know. And as I was growing up, and the elders, they were speaking about change and the different qualities of life and different progressions that we go through from childhood to, or from babyhood to puberty, and then puberty through our teenage years to our pre-adult years, I guess you want to call it. And then we go into adulthood from maybe around 20, 21, 18 to 21 or whatever, all the way up to about 55. Those are our adult years. And then we start transitioning again after we get into our 50s, and we start going into what we call baby elderhood, baby elders. And then when you get up to about 60 to 62 or whatever, then you're kind of qualified as an elder, but a newbie, like a newbie elder. And then once you go past 65 or wherever there, and then you go through your transition periods up through 70 and 80. When you reach 80, then you become like a master elder, a highly regarded elder. But they mention through the changes and the shifts, everything goes through it. The plants, the animals, Mother Earth, we all go through the same transitions as we move along into the future. But the elders, they always mention that the hardest thing to I'm going to say recognize in the shifts and the changes is our balance. And the elders, they mentioned that that's one of the hardest qualities about ourselves, is to learn that balance, to stay in balance no matter what happens, whether it's good things, bad things, ugly things, or loving things, or whatever things come into our existence, is that we're balanced. Our emotions are balanced, is that we're content with the change, that it doesn't really upset us one way or the other. Like if a really bad thing happens, like a death in the family or a tragedy or whatever, is that we're balanced in that energy, is that that's just the way it needs to be, or that's how it's being done through the Creator. And so we try not to tip the scale one way or the other. We try to stay in balance. And that's a difficult lesson to learn about our emotions, is how do we stay even keel, if you will, no matter what goes on, whether we're getting married, or whether we're getting a divorce, whether we're having children, or whether we're changing a job, moving to a different area. Those are all transitions. Those are all changes in our lives. But how does it affect us? How do we stay kind of in that neutral zone, and kind of roll with the flow? But anyway, that's what they were kind of showing this morning, is to understand transitions that we go through. And today is a big one, because during the ceremony, we're transitioning from the grandfather sun to the grandmother moon's energy. And so today it's almost kind of like there's a marriage going on between the grandfather and the grandmother, because that transition, they're blending together this day, and then we move over into the grandmother's side. But what does that really truly mean? What are we supposed to do with that? And so I'm just going to hand it back to you ladies, and maybe you have a different understanding of what this means for you, transitioning into the grandmother side. Oh.
Well, thank you. Linda, do you have anything to say? And I'm going to ask you to
Okay, there we go. I had to unmute myself there. I listened to what you said, Marshall, about how the ages progress and there's a natural evolution into the grandmother energy. And I'm involved with several types of grandmother groups. And there's young women in there too, women that are young enough to not have had children so far, women who have children and aren't grandmothers. And then there are women who are of a grandmother age, but don't have physical grandchildren or children. And yet that grandmother energy is within each woman, each female that is born. It's a seed, if you will, and part of her essence of being feminine. I see that there is a lot of the energy that's coming through is a holding energy. The feminine energy is a vessel that holds the world. It holds everything that's in existence, ready for the time when it now starts producing. So if you kind of think of it as a pregnant energy, that pregnancy energy is what holds in the dark mystery of the womb, where things prepare to emerge. And I think that energy is the grandmother energy. It's the wisdom that comes to know that there is a time and a place for everything under the heavens and in the heavens, in the cosmic world. This is the energy that waits for the right time. It's what every child knows, that it's before it's born, that now is the time for it to be conceived. Now is the time for it to come through. Now is the time for it to pass on. Our bodies, our female bodies, are inherently tuned into that crazy notion of, how do the birds know how to fly north and south during their migration? How do the salmon know which river to go up to get back to their birthing place? It's that kind of intuitive knowledge that we hold inside of our bodies that just knows where to go, what to do, and when to do it. And that's what I think the grandmother energy is. It's that holding of the feminine, that power that resides within each one of us. So
Thank you, Linda. And I agree, and I'm still learning about, what grandmother energy means. And there's definitely an element of just tapping into your heart and your intuition. And, I almost feel when I do get curious about it, it's this, inner child that wants to know, well, why is it that um, our cycles are in tune with the cycles of the moon? And we know it happens, we don't know why. And so there's a lot of these questions that come up, but rather than finding out the answers to those questions in a scientific way, is just really sitting with it and feeling it. And I also wanted to echo Linda's comment, and Ellen Trichter is chiming in on this as well. It really represents the holding of the feminine divine, and so it's incredibly sacred. And yeah, so that's what I have to say about it. I did ask the question to our community as well, and Pamela said, to Pamela, the grandmother energy to me is eternal and carries unconditional love that helps to bring balance to the earth. That's beautiful, Pamela. Thank you. And if there are other comments coming in, feel free to type them, and we will share with Marshall as the day comes along. And if there are any questions about the transition from the sun altar to the moon altar, please let us know. We're assuming otherwise that you all will just follow your heart and make the transition. Marshall, do you have any thoughts so far?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, good. Well, let me ask an important question here. What is the commonality amongst women? What binds you together? What's the one thing that binds you together as women?
So many cool things. Um,
Well, let me kind of put it this way. If you're
We're
looking,
not male. We're not males. We're females. That's what binds us together. The same thing that binds you guys.
what
It's the physical.
Go ahead, Marshall.
I think we opened up a Pandora's box here.
Uh-huh.
But it's like it's like, well, I'm just gonna kind of say it like I'm visualizing. So say we have two different cults. We have the masculine cult over here, and we have the feminine cult over here. What holds the energy in the woman's cult? What is the main thing that joins all women around the planet together?
My answer is the same as Ellen's. The heart, it really is our heart connection. And, in sort of thinking about my experience so far in connecting with women over time, um, we don't have to know each other on a sort of linear level. We don't have to know a lot about each other, but when we have this connection that happens, that's nothing like it, whether it's going through an intense experience together for a short amount of time, and then we're connected for life. So it really is the heart connection. I believe that as well. Ellen, thank you. And Siska says creating and sisterhood is also something we have in common. Sandy, um, it's the ability to bear new life, which is incredibly powerful that we can do that. And when, I was thinking when my daughter was being born, that she was carrying the future generations in her already. And the fact that we have an ability to do that is really powerful.
Okay.
I have a question. I agree with what you said, Jigna, about our ability to procreate, but not all women are able to procreate. And for a long time, I thought that the one thing that bound us all together was that we all bleed. But I can't really say that either, because there are some women who don't. And so it seems to me that even though those are things that aren't across the board true, there is an essence there that is true. That is true for all people who identify themselves as female. And now, so this is kind of crossing the board of, you know, how do you identify yourself? If you are born with male body parts and yet you identify yourself as being female, you know, caught in a different body than what you normally would choose to be in. I think it's just, where is it that deep down inside of you do you reside? Who are you? And if you are caring and compassionate and heart-based and kind and loving, and it doesn't matter what body parts you have, you are expressing that feminine energy.
That's such a good point, Linda. Thank you for bringing that up. And I fully agree with you. There's no, and however you identify, you know, whether that matches with the labels that we have given so far, you're right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The answer is in your heart, and you don't have to justify it. Definitely. Thank you, Linda.
Okay. Well, here's something that I've been thinking about as we go into the grandmother moon energy. You know, we've talked a lot about different topics along this journey up till today. You know, one of them that came through really strong this morning through Goldie was equality amongst women. And I asked Goldie, I said, so express a little bit more about what you're talking about. And she says the equality severs the feminine energy. And I said, okay, can you elaborate a little bit more? And then she was showing many women that we have here on the planet, around the world, obviously, is that some women have unlimited freedom to be a woman, the expression. But then we have some other countries through religious beliefs, or I'm not sure, maybe through protocols or standards or whatever it is, that a lot of women are subjected to many things through the patriarchal realm that are not natural for women to exist in. You know, I'm not going to name off any cultures in a definite way, but there is that inequality amongst women around the planet, is that some women are free and some women aren't free to be a woman. So being a woman, how does that make you feel when other women are suffering, when you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do? How do you feel about that?
Marshall, as you were asking the question, I could hear a lot of voices of women behind me, just like starting to talk all at the same time. That's an excellent question. I know that for me, when I go back home in East Africa, I have to show up differently. I have to, you know, I can't be acting as free as I am today and show up in a world that is not seeing me that way. Um, and even, you know, I live in a free part of the world where I can be mostly myself, but when I'm going out the door and thinking about taking a walk, I'm still thinking about my safety. Do I need to carry something with me? Do I need to, whether it's the phone or whatever it is, do I need to go with a friend? A man really wouldn't be thinking about those things. That wouldn't even cross their minds when they're just going for a walk in the neighborhood. And um, so there's a lot of work to be done around the world, even in those places that we perceive as free. Um, it's, you know, thinking about those women around the world, and I know them, I know many of them, you know, just by virtue of where I grew up. Um, it's really sad. It's heartbreaking. It's infuriating that they cannot give themselves permission to live in a way that is authentic and that feels that they can, you know, at the same time own who they are and show up in power. So those are my quick thoughts. And I want to hand it over to Linda. I'm sure she has something to say, and also pay attention to the comments section as well. So keep those comments coming in.
I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. You can hear me, I'm assuming. Yes. What a really thought-provoking question, Marshall. When I think about my sisters, and I'm talking about every person who identifies as a woman, if there is someone who is downbeaten, if there's someone who has, you know, been subjected to, you know, harsh treatment, to bad things, someone who has been overrun, overruled, outvoted, suppressed, repressed, and are depressed as a result of all of that, then I'm thinking there's nothing more that I can do except just have to send them in my prayers, put them in my prayers, and ask for there to be, you know, some kind of a saving grace to come and take them and provide for them. And yeah, I'm hopefully that comes in the form of a man coming to the rescue. The masculine energy is something that has so much to do with our ability to be a woman. We need that support. We need that protection. And that's what the masculine and the feminine go hand in hand with. She gives the support for him, and he provides the protection for her. It's a yin yang, you know, vessel holding the water energy thing. When it is out of balance, as we can see clearly today, then it's what results in the wars and the disease and the pollution and the imbalance that we have in the world. So I don't know what the answer is other than love. So.
And to add to that, thank you, Linda, for sharing. To add to that, I'd like to say, you know, I think about how can I show up and hold, you know, when patriarchy shows up, how do I hold that person accountable, or how do I call it out? Just calling it out. that it's not okay anymore for us to be treated that way. Whether you cross the line a little bit or a lot, it doesn't matter. You should not even cross the line. And I could be listing, gosh, daily interactions where this happens. And I feel free at the same time, but it's just not enough. So free, I guess, is relative right now. But we've got a lot of work to do. And I'm inspired by young women who have more confidence than I did at their age, where they are speaking up and they're not apologizing for speaking up. And so that inspires me to do the same.
Okay, let me ask a important question to you, Jigna. These women that you're talking about obviously are in the United States.
In developed countries. So Europe and United States, yeah.
So if you were to take those women and take them home with you, what do you think would happen?
That would be tricky. I would fear for their safety to be out in the open like that. They would be risking their lives. So the women back home are able to, when you get them in a safe setting, they do open up and they do talk about their feelings around patriarchy. But they're looking at me like, oh, I'm so happy that you have the choices. And to me, that's sad. I mean, I'm talking about a family member here. When I'm hearing her say to me, I'm so glad that you have these choices, that you are not bound by those, traditional patriarchal values that you were raised in. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, but that's heartbreaking because I feel like you have those choices too, but it's a lot more, the mountain is even more higher, right? The obstacle is just much more intense for her than I guess it was for me because I live here.
Okay. I know Goldie kind of came through and she says the voice needs to be louder in order for the change to happen. The other thing I want to kind of touch base on here today, an actuality, a reality that's going on as we speak, and that's at our borders with Mexico. And families are being separated because of our laws here in the United States. I don't understand it, but it's kind of like I can't even imagine going somewhere where they're going to take your husband or your wife or your children or whatever and separate them from you, and you don't have a choice. It's like, how are you supposed to deal with that kind of energy? So I mean, we're talking, right here in the United States, this atrocity is going on. But is there anything that we can do about that instead of just saying, okay, I'm lending my energy to it, and I know it's tragic and whatever, but there seems like there ought to be something that we can do, masculine and the feminine, and say, hey, this is not right. So how do we initiate that? What do we do? I mean, we've got the universe and the galaxies and the holy ones and all of our ancestors at our beck and call. But what can we do with all of that energy in a physical kind of a sense? I'm just going to throw this out here for discussion. What can we do?
What can we do? The comment section has been thinking about it, I guess. So I'm hopeful that more comments will be showing up about that. What can we do? I think each of us has to be asking ourselves that question: how can we show up? Because it gets to a point where you're reading the news and it's impacting you, but you're sitting there and setting intentions, right, and praying and connecting with the energy field, but in the end something's got to get done. And so I know that where I live, it's a city, and there's there's diversity, but it's clustered. It's, you know, this neighborhood, that neighborhood. And there are the problems that exist on the other side of the world are right here, just, you know, a 15-minute drive from my house. And so how I think about that is, can I get involved in an organization that is helping, you know, the women who are survivors of domestic violence and their children? And there's a lot of organizations like that, and they always need volunteers. When you were talking about the children and the women at the border, it was heartbreaking, infuriating to be hearing this in a place that we live in, a time that we in 2021 or 2020. And you know, then you start talking about it in your own circle, and then I find out that one of my dear friends is an immigration lawyer, and she's starting to put something together to show up for these families and to, you know, support their rights, and then trying to figure out how to work with that. So I think that each of us has, you know, not everybody has the capacity to drop everything and just go and do something. And I recognize that. But even if it's something small, we should really, really think about that. I wanted to, oh, Linda, I'll give you the mic here right after I read the comment section. We have Sarah Isabel, who responded to this inquiry saying, follow intuition to receive what your aligned action is. And Siska says, taking action together. The more people take action together, the more the voice is being heard, the louder it is. And I'm adding, the louder it is, and the more impactful it is. Because when did anything change by us staying silent, right? Linda, go ahead.
Vote. I vote. I know there's a lot of controversy about whether or not voting has an impact or not, but it is what our forefathers and our founding, ideas are based on, is that we all have a voice, and that voice comes in the form of a vote. So when I go and I vote for women, predominantly women, because the more that we are out in the political arenas, the better able we are to change things the way that we see that they need to be changed. And I pray for those women to do what is best for all the people, not for what the bottom line is. And I pray for them to be in their integrity, that they don't become victims of political agendas and trade-offs, for favors. I think the other thing that we can do is have more talks about it, more discussions. During that period of time last year when in Washington, I think it was, they had the immigrants were being separated from their children. I was astounded that nobody else talked about, were they taking names and phone numbers and contact information of the children and their parents, so that if some time happened when they could be put back together again, they knew which child went with which parent. And what happened to these children now? Where are they now? And there's nothing out there about it at all. It's like everybody just forgot about them. And it's so wrong. It's so unfair. And it's such a horrific thing to have happen that, because you want a better life for yourself and your family and your children, that you go to a place where you want exile, you don't want asylum. And instead, you're getting torn apart from your family and your friends and your children. Oh my God, that someone would even conceive of doing something like that is just boggles my mind. And it makes me so angry. send people after and, you know, rescue these children. I just don't have that kind of influence or power. So the only thing I can think of is, you know, to not let the conversation stop, not let the discussion stop. Keep talking about it. And like Goldie says, yeah, we need a louder voice. We need a megaphone to pull attention to these issues. So yeah, now I'm upset.
That's good. That's a good place to be because that's where change develops. You know, the reason I bring all of this up is that in numbers we can make the change. That's why we're doing these broadcasts of global synchronicity, because in other countries they have issues just like we do in our country. And so the louder our voice is, it's an energetic voice that I feel that will make powerful, powerful changes, but we need the numbers. We need people listening in to what we're discussing right now. I mean, we're talking billions of people listening in to the same dialogue that we're discussing right now and lending our energy to whatever we're discussing. Things will happen. That's an energetic voice. It's more powerful than anything I can think of because it's all of our ancestors joined together with one voice and saying, okay, this needs to stop immediately, period. No more discussion. And so for me, it's encouraging that we're bringing up subjects that are really detrimental to our lifestyle here on this planet, especially the unborn. I keep on going back to the unborn. We don't want these children that are being born subjected to these environments that's we're living in right now. It's not fair to the unborn to come into a pristine Mother Earth and then be subjected to all these things that the human world has created in a negative way. You know, that's what I'm talking about. That's why we need the voices. We need more people concentrating their energy on issues like we're discussing right now. That's what makes the change. But we need the voices, the energetic voices. And so as we were talking along and opening up Pandora's box to the feminine, it's like we need to offer a very, very powerful prayer today. And so I'm going to open this back up again. We're kind of taking some back steps, and we're going to start bringing in the holy ones and the divine grandmothers and the divine mothers, you know, all the divine feminine energies today to help us go through this transition. It's the voice of the women that are going to make the biggest changes on this planet that I can see. You know, the men are pretty comfortable because they're in that patriarchic realm and have been there for centuries. And so they're comfortable making these decisions for everybody. And oh yeah, you know, well, we're gonna create a big wall so nobody can come across the big wall. You know? So they make some idiotic decisions for all of us. But they've been comfortable, they've been complacent, and they keep on making decisions like that because our voice isn't strong enough. Our voice isn't strong enough. So let's kind of relax around a little bit, and Linda, just kind of compose yourself there. So we'll start with a fresh new energy and lend our compassion to what we're discussing here. So everybody, Right now, I want you to take 3 deep breaths, and with each breath, I want you to kind of dissolve the energy, the outside energy, and let it go out there for now. Take your first breath and say, okay, I disconnect with all the energies of the planet, all the energies that are outside of me right now. I disconnect with that. Then we take another deep breath, filling myself up with the energy that's been gifted to me. And then I take another deep breath, putting me into a place of comfort where I can ask permission to talk with the Holy Ones. I'm making a place within my soul where the Holy Ones can work. I ask permission today, grandmothers and grandfathers in all the realms, all the galaxies, all the universes. We call upon all the councils of creation, the ones who created creation. We ask them to join us here together. We ask the great creator of all things, the great mystery, to acknowledge our call. That we ask for your help. We ask that you could join all of our ancestors together, all of the ancestors that walk upon this planet we call Mother Earth, all of the ancestors of the plant nations, the animal nations, the water nations, all of the kingdoms that walk upon the earth, the elemental kingdoms, and the human kingdom. We ask that you could join us all together today. Be with us and comfort us, nurture us. Give us the thoughts that we can use to summons in a greater power than we have on our own plane, in our own existence. We need a voice to change the things that are happening here on the Mother Earth that are detrimental to all life forms. So we just ask you today to come in and to guide us and to give us strength, give us courage, give us foresight. That we need a bigger voice, and we ask that you could join us all together so that voice can be heard. Not only here on this planet, but through the galaxies and the universes. So we thank you for coming in this day. We ask for a healing of our emotions. We ask for a healing for all living things. I hope. So I still feel that we need a bigger voice, like Goldie had said. I'm not sure how we're going to do it or how long it's going to take to get that bigger voice. But this simple event, it may be big for somebody. It's a 10-day event. And we're going through all of the aspects of transition, of reform, of understanding energy fields, or understanding the crystalline grid, or understanding a lot of the things that are at our beck and call. That's what this is all about. It's like a big, massive training ceremony so that our voices can get bigger, that we can be heard further out on the planet for all those who are in dire straits, if you will. So I just wanted to reassure everyone that this isn't just going to end after the full moon ceremony on the 26th. It's going to continue on. It's going to continue on because we need more voices to address these problems and situations we have here on the planet. We've got a momentum going. And so Goldie is saying, go deep inside and really call on the masculine and the feminine energies to help us out, to bring that balance, not only to ourselves as a human, but to bring that balance to all living things here on the planet. That's our goal, is to bring that balance in for all living things on this planet. So who knows if it's ever going to happen in our lifetimes, but we're initiating it. We're creating it. We're creating that voice. So I give it back to all of you. Aho.
Aho, thank you, Marshall, for leading us into a grounding moment here, because I also, like Linda, was feeling my temperature rising and my heart racing. So I appreciate that. It's time to open up that Pandora's box. We're overdue. And as you mentioned, it will take all of our little voices to amplify that bigger voice. So however you do that, the answer is in your heart. We always appreciate that you share, spread the word about People's Wave of Love, because the more voices we get, the more, it just amplifies our intention and prayer to just go around the world and help everybody out. Tomorrow, I wanted to mention we are holding a grandmother ceremony, and which in honor of our grandmothers around the full moon. So Linda, Rosa, and I will be hosting. All gender are welcome, and I will be posting in the group the link so you can register. And it is registered by donation, but if you're not able to donate, please send us a message so that we can still get you the link that you need. We want everybody to be able to attend. So that's on Wednesday, the 23rd at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And thank you, Marshall, for helping us transition, and Linda for helping us transition into the grandmother part of our ceremony for the remainder of our time. Aho.
Let me talk about today's energy fields. We're transitioning out from the realms of the solstice of the sun. And so that energy is starting to subside dramatically today, the sun's energy. I mean, it's still there, obviously. But as far as the immense energy of the solstice, the full sun energy, is that we've gone through that energetic belt, if you will. And so today, at sundown, is when we give our final offerings for the grandfather sun. And so all of the prayers that we accumulated throughout these last 5 days, that grounding vessel that we have, that we started out with, all of the prayers that were ever discussed or brought in through this ceremony are all harnessed into that cylinder, that container. And so that this evening, as the sun sets, we'll offer all of our offerings to the grandfather sun that we have for ourselves as individuals, but the combination of all of our prayers will also be offered at the end of this day. And we really ask the grandfather sun to hold all of our prayers, every person that joined us thus far, is that we ask the grandfather sun to hold all of our prayers, the prayers of the family. And then we offer it to the Mother Earth, and we ask the grandfather sun to take our prayers, to take our thoughts and our concerns and our love and our compassion and shine it around the world. And then at sunset, then we make a transition. We fill up our grounding vessel, our grounding container for the grandmother moon. And then we fill up our offering containers, just as we did with the grandfather sun's energy. I don't know, I really feel, and Goldie is she's not really showing specifically what's going to happen, but there is going to be a change, a major change of some kind tonight at sunset. It's that transition energy, and I can't explain it. I just feel that something's going to happen this evening when we make that transition. Oh, for those of you that have been on board with us, we've set up 2 altars, one for the sun, one for the moon. The one for the moon has kind of been dormant up until now, and so we activate that moon altar this evening while we end the altar of the grandfather sun. It would be good if we can share more pictures about that transition. So those of you that have 2 altars set up, I encourage you to send those pictures to us so we can get them posted for the people who maybe are still needing some guidance. So I hand it back to Jigna. So where do we go from here? Any comments that we need to address?
Just checking the comment section here. Everybody has been just listening and, to all of our voices here today and echoing the importance of voting and the importance of praying, in addition to the importance of action. Whatever we can do, however we can show up. Thank you for coming today. We're doing good on time. We're getting better about setting our time here with practice. And we will be here tomorrow at the same time. And for all of you who have been able to join, thank you. And we continue to do our work. Any final words, Marshall?
Goldie's kind of reminding us that we have many things available to us individually through the energetic realms, through the holy realms. And when we do this kind of work, we are taught by our elders is that we don't use our own energy to do this kind of work. This spiritual work, the medicine way, is that we use the energy, we call upon and ask permission to use the energy of the Mother Earth, the energy of the plants, the animals, the sky, the air, the waters. And so we utilize that external energy to do this kind of work so we can fulfill the intention. It takes a lot of energy, obviously, to engage in these ceremonies. And so Goldie is reminding us to call upon the energies that are surrounding you to help you do the work that you're inspired to do. Don't do it alone or you're going to exhaust yourself and you're going to get angry. Call in all the grandfathers, call in all the grandmothers, call in everything to help and support you with the intentions that you set forward. It'll make an easier journey for you and an easier transition. And so Goldie's just reminding us, surround yourself with all of that energy, of all of that love, of all things in the universe and the galaxies, the creator, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, all of your ancestors, both on your mother and your father's side, to help you journey. And to strengthen your voice, don't be afraid to roar. There, she says that's what needs to be heard. That's what makes change. And so for us, it's like we need a louder voice than the ones who are creating havoc upon our planet. We need to get stronger in numbers. We need that energetic voice to help with these transitions that we see that's ahead of us. So again, Goldie says, bless all of you. She says, I'll ask the grandmothers to wrap you in a grandmother's blanket, a medicine blanket. and comfort you and give you strength, especially for all the women around the planet, to comfort them this day. That help is coming, and we'll bring the families back together again. No. Okay, those are kind of my final words. Goldie's final words.
All right, that's a wrap, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.